Hello there, we're back with some Haas hard mode today, and we're about to head into Baku. We haven't had the best start here with both Verstappen and Paris ahead of us. That's going to be a little bit challenging. We also did have that crash last time around that did put Magnussen a little bit behind, let's put it like that. But I do have faith in our ability to hopefully be able to do a bit of a comeback here. So we have developed the car somewhat here. We have the Azerbaijan Grand Prix tomorrow. And we're just going to quickly go through here and have a look that everything that we need to put on the car is on the car. And it does look that we have kind of caught up with most parts here. Maybe you'd like to get the suspension made, but currently I haven't actually started the manufacturing process. So are we making another one? No. So let's get that manufacturing process started. I do believe that we have decent brake cooling. We do. So I don't know why I haven't started making them, but I haven't. Because what we're really lacking right now is a little bit of top speed. So let's get some of these cooking. As you can see, making 4 of these is going to take us, well, a lot of time. Could rush some, and that way we'll have 1 set for Miami. And I don't think we have much of a choice there then to try and rush some a little bit. Rush the first 2 maybe, then work from there. I think that should be okay. But yeah, let's have a look at the current car analysis compared to the rest of the field. So, unsurprisingly, we are the best team at cornering and DRS, but the top speed here does leave us a little bit lacking, particularly compared to Red Bull. Still have about 2 kph on us, has a little bit on acceleration, but we actually have a fairly huge advantage here in the cornering department, although it's become a lot closer, particularly for medium and high speed cornering. Low speed is still what we kind of do excel a little bit on, although our engine cooling isn't the greatest, and combine that with Magnussen crash, and we're going to have a few problems with parts being somewhat expensive. But we are going into Baku. It is one of those tracks where we can be very aggressive, so I think we're going to keep on going all in here, being a little bit more aggressive, trying to get things off to a running start. And while it might be a little bit challenging, I think it's going to be more fun that way, so let's get into it. Qualifying, we should be able to get both cars in Q3. We should potentially be able to stand fast lap it, and I do think we'll have a car on the podium for the next 5 races, provided we don't have a lot of shunts, lockups, spins. You get the idea. So let's just jump directly into Baku here, and hopefully we can have a really, really good race. We qualified 1st and 4th, so this is a good starting point. Bit of a shame here for Hulkenberg that he could just not improve on his final lap. Did get held up a little bit, which is, of course, unfortunate, but not really much we can do about it. In terms of car setup here, there isn't really much we can do, and we are going to be switching Magnussen back here to less or lower spec. We have decided to get him the new engine started and also a new gearbox started because, well, the engine that he currently has and also the gearbox he currently has is lower in terms of durability, so we've decided to just go ahead and put him on new ones already in order to try and make life a little bit simpler. We are going to have to buy a new engine anyways, so there's no need to kind of take too much extra care of that first one. That is why we've elected to do it like this. I'm also kind of tempted here to give Hulk a new engine to try and give him a little bit extra speed, but I don't think there's anything it would really benefit him much. And as you can see, we can run full attack on the soft tires, no problem. And we can also run full attack on the mediums, no problem. Softs are going to be slightly quicker. Mediums give it a little bit more wiggle room. I do like that little bit of extra wiggle room. But at the same time, as you might have known here, the degradation... it's Baku. Degradation isn't a problem. It's more that it's very, very likely that some other cars are going to crash and we're going to get a safety car or a virtual safety car. It happens almost every sprint. So this time, let's go for the soft tire, which has very, very minor variances for success or failure. But I think it's fine to do it like this. And if we end up with a gap 2 cars behind, we can always slow down, take a little bit more care of our tires. And for Hulkenberg here, we could also just, after the first lap or so, if we see that he's struggling to keep up or struggling to get overtakes done, run the tires a little bit safer, a little bit more conservative, and try and save them towards the end of the sprint. So we're going to gamble on softs this time around, because usually we do kind of get messed up by safety cars.
It's lights out and away we
Lights
go.
out and away we go indeed. Let's go ahead and tune down the cars. Hulkenberg losing out to the Ferrari. That's a little bit disappointing. But it looks like he is coming back, so nothing too major there.
Plenty of K1 available.
And looks like we might be drag racing a little bit here down to the third corner. But yeah, clearly ahead of the Ferrari. Maybe not clearly. We'll have to see here though, because Ferrari's going to have the inner line with Leclerc here. So Hulkenberg's still somewhat in danger. And that is a little bit problematic. But it does seem like we are still having a little bit of a good scrap here with the Ferrari settling in behind. And Magnussen has actually pushed a full second ahead of Paris. That is also very, very good to see. But yeah, we'll be keeping a close eye on Deg here. And if it becomes too harsh, we'll be tuning the cars down for sure. But currently, look at Hulkenberg is looking for chances to attack. And that is very, very nice to see. Now, in other news that has been mentioned, Hamilton, just going to mention this real quick, is going to Ferrari. Not this season, but the next. There are some rumors that there's some negotiations going on right now for a early Hamilton sign swap. But next year seems like it could be a very, very interesting one with rumors of, well, Alonso going to Mercedes to fill in that Hamilton slot. That would be fireworks for sure. But yeah, Hamilton Ferrari, didn't see it happening myself, but it's seems to be happening, and it's going to be interesting to see how that in particular ends up developing. But unfortunately, as I said, we're going to have to wait to 2025 to see that in action. So I'm looking forward to next season. But also, I'm looking forward to seeing how this season is going to develop as well. We could get an incredible, silly season with that in mind. But yeah, Magnussen has been caught up here by Verstappen. If Verstappen overtakes us, we're going to slow down a little bit. Hulkenberg just isn't getting Perez here, although he did finally get him there. But yeah, the gaps here, not really anything too particularly good in our favor. Everyone is still pushing. So what I'm thinking is that we're going to tune down to aggressive for now, maybe even down to standard. Take a little bit better care of these tires, and then try and get away. So for Magnussen here, if Verstappen overtakes us, it's not actually a big deal. We can just kind of sit behind to charge our energy while DRSing, hopefully, unless he just completely runs away here. And we'll kind of try and do the same here with Hulkenberg. Just take a little bit better care of our tires, just save up some energy, and try and attack him towards the end. So we are getting close to the end here. Verstappen has just pulled an amazing gap on Magnussen over this lap. I don't know how he pulled it off. But we have a very slight tire advantage that we are going to be trying to make use of now. And with energy here, for instance, if we start deploying with Hulkenberg, I think we'll be able to get away from Paris. I don't know if we'll be able to catch Verstappen. That's a little bit too big of a gap. But I do believe Magnussen can get Verstappen, and that's kind of what we're going to be hoping for this year. To have both our drivers beat their kind of Red Bull rivals. So with 3 laps to go here, we're going to start making moves, going to start making some attacks here, see what we can do. Magnussen didn't really get the overtake done there. Hulkenberg didn't really get out of the DRS, which is why he still has Paris on his tail. But for Magnussen here now, we do need to get that overtake done. Pretty much within the next few laps here, there's not a lot of time left. He is kind of still trying to get an attack going. And for Hulkenberg, he's unfortunately ran out of energy, which could lead to Paris closing in, but it should be good. Unfortunately, Magnussen has actually overtaken in a bit of a bad spot. We'd really love it if it did it here on this straight instead. But even that doesn't really look like the Red Bull has just about not enough energy there to get the place back. But it's this lap and then one more. So I do kind of, it's either that we gamble on using all of our energy to get the 1 second gap going here. Looks like we kind of pull that off. And so far, it looks actually very, very good. So, bit of a shame here that we aren't going to be getting Verstappen as well with Hulkenberg. But we did get kind of held up by Perez. We did play our tires a little bit safer. And it looks like that has ended up benefiting us. Bit of a surprise is Norris in 5th currently, fighting Leclerc, I would dare say. And we see Sainz in 10th. Mercedes generally just have a very, very bad second year in this game, which is a little bit surprising. But yeah, I say this is a decent showing, honestly. We did get a 1-3. We improved for
Guys,
Hulkenberg.
I can't believe this.
And hopefully we can get the race itself on Sunday, giving us a good result. Now Baku is nice because again, it has incredibly low dank, so running attack strategies here are very, very viable. So let's have a look here on what we can do. Now we could do a no stop on this Haas, that is true. Medium to hard is very much viable, but I want to have a quick look here just to remind myself what is the compound performance. So 3.5 tenths for soft to medium. Degradation leads us to basically 15 laps of advantage, 16, 17 actually. Soft will have an advantage over mediums, and with the long laps around here, that's actually quite significant. Medium to hard is about 25 laps, which means that we're not going to want to use the hards at all. We're going to want to stay as far away from the hards as we can, and maybe do a soft to medium 1 stop, or even a soft to medium soft 2 stopper. That can work. This is again about 30 seconds quicker than the base strategy. We could also do something like this, where we run a soft and a medium and a hard on full attack. Still going to be a bit slower than the 2 stopper. But what we might try here is what I've been enjoying lately, which is to run something akin to this. Where we do a medium and then we run the softs on light, which gives us opportunity to attack towards the end. And that might be what we do here, but unfortunately here, as you can see, it is quite a lot slower than any other strategy. So for this track, the best thing we can do is probably soft, medium, soft, full attack. And that's just how things are. It is the quickest strategy out there. We are starting fairly high up the field, so pulling this off shouldn't really be a challenge at all. Of course, lockups could mess with the strategy, but we can just run that final stop light if we need to. So I think this is the best bet available to us. It's just the best thing you can do when you can actually run full attack and do a 2-stopper. So yeah, we're gonna go with this. Let's see how we get on with the start here.
Final checks. This is what you've been waiting for. It's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
So both Red Bulls inside line, both Haas outside. That's not great.
Lights out, and away we go.
Again, we don't want to take any unnecessary risks if we can avoid it. We do maintain the lead, and we might even have a Hulkenberg here getting Verstappen immediately.
Okay, ramper mode push. Could be done.
Looks like he is getting that move done. And that's actually amazing. That's kind of what we wanted to see here. Both cars 1-2. And if we now can have both cars just push on this first off stint, create that gap to Verstappen and Perez, it's going to be even more amazing once we actually go on the softs around lap 16. So far, this has worked out fairly amazingly, and Norris is currently holding up the rest of the field a little bit here, with the gaps being formed, and Verstappen too is being, as we said here, left behind. So Magnussen now, if he can pull Hulkenberg along, and we can keep this gap being kind of large, that is going to benefit us here for the long run, and hopefully here, we aren't going to have any inter-team crashes, although I could potentially have just jinxed that. But yeah, so far, so good. We're going to allow things to run like this until we get to the first pit stop. We are going to be tuning down the fuel usage once we reach about 1.8 kilos. But for now, we will allow things to just run as they are until we get to that first pit stop. We're getting increasingly close there to the first pit stop, and what I'm thinking is that we're going to get Hulkenberg in now. Hulkenberg has been running behind Magnussen for most of this race so far, which has led to slightly higher deg, because running behind another car leads to your tires being hotter than if you were running in clean air. So we're going to be getting him in on this lap with a pit stop time estimated to be, 19 seconds around here? I don't remember exactly how long. Total pitting time, 21 seconds pit lane, 3 seconds stop, 23 seconds out in 10th or 12th. That should still be okay, honestly, coming out around here. There is not any particular DRS trains until you get to Alonso and then all the way up to Verstappen. So if it does come out there, we can be very, very happy with it, I feel. Now for Magnussen, we are going to be pitting him on the next lap. He has a little bit extra tire to go on because he's been running primarily in front. And Hulkenberg comes out in 10th, kind of as expected. Now, Norris and Gasly could be a little bit of a challenge to get by, but honestly, I think it'll be fine. We'll do a little bit of harvesting while we catch up. And Magnussen should be pitting this lap. He too should come out around this DRS train, maybe even ahead of it if we're lucky, but we'll have to see. That's going to be a very close cinch, but yeah, it actually comes out ahead of Hulkenberg. But Hulkenberg gets the overtake done, which we're actually happy with, because Hulkenberg will have harder tires, he will be more prepped to launch an attack, and we're just going to go ahead and deploy already and have him chase down the McLaren and the Alpine. And as I said, I don't think we're going to have too many problems getting overtakes done. And it shouldn't be too long before, say, Norris has to pit anyways. Same for the top three. So overtaking should be a bit of a breeze, is what I'm hoping for. We can go ahead and deploy with Magnussen too. Tires are up to temp, so starting to get overtakes done. It's going to be very, very nice. And for Hulkenberg now, we're just going to save energy. Same here for Magnussen. We could just run behind until we get to a DRS point. But yeah, first set of pit stops here. Done very, very nicely. And we're about 10 seconds behind Verstappen. And we had 10 seconds on our first off stint, so I'm pretty sure that we will be able to get far ahead of both of these by the end of this race. So it's looking very, very promising. So I think we can say for certain at this point, at lap 23 here, Verstappen, Alonso, and Leclerc finally do pit. But that those three are going for a one-stopper. And we still have to wait for Stroll, Sainz to pit. Perez has pitted onto medium. And he's actually done fairly well here. He's just a good 15 seconds behind us. But right now, we're kind of back to having our cars run 1-2. So currently, I'd say we're looking very good here. And I'm pretty sure that by the time we end up pitting, we should be able to get the gap here to most of these cars to be basically a pit stop. If not, we're going to come up pretty much very close to Verstappen, Perez, and Alonso. And kind of overtake these guys with fresh, soft tires. So I'm very, very confident that this race is going to go our way, provided, of course, again, that we don't smack into each other. We're getting very close now to that final pit stop. I think we're going to be calling in Hulkenberg at the end of this lap. And what I'm thinking is that we're going to tune him down to standard for a little while. He is going to come out in a DRS train with Alonso, Verstappen, and Perez. Just going to have a little bit of work kind of ahead of him. So I'm fine with just going harvest and standard for a couple of laps to kind of take care of his tires. Even going light here is going to be fine, because we can just sit back and kind of take it easy for a lap or two. And the same can actually be said for Magnussen. It's not a bad thing if we kind of recharge, get energy back, get fuel back, and then work from there to get the overtakes done. Because we're going to have a fairly significant tire advantage towards the end. So again, I'm very, very happy with just sitting back here and taking it a little bit slower before we launch any attacks, but getting energy, fuel, and also tire to kind of spare here. So probably going to just do that for about 5 laps or so before we start making any major moves. And it's a bit of a shame though, because with Magnussen, I probably could have pulled a little bit harder instead and gotten out ahead, but I just didn't think that would be viable. So that did kind of backfire a little bit, but with full energy here, we're just going to go ahead and recharge our fuel a little bit, and then we'll start the attacks. Well, as it turns out, we're kind of getting the attacks done even without doing anything here. So Magnussen got the launch done here while running light, while conserving fuel. So that was a very, very nice move. And honestly, as I said, I'm kind of happy with just sitting back right now, saving fuel, saving tire, and kind of getting ready to launch the attack later on. And we are very, very close to Verstappen still. They're going to be using more tire than us anyways. So at this point, we're actually getting more and more advantage from taking it slower. So I'm thinking we're going to launch a few attacks here using just the energy of our ERS and still just take care of these tires a little bit. Because as I said, I think we can get ahead fairly easily if we really, really want to try for it. So jostling for better position right now is fine. And I'm also taking care of the tires so we have a better chance of getting fastest lap. Magnussen there with a double overtake, purely due to the help of energy.
Right, so this was the 4th corner.
To be fair though, he was slightly helped there by the Red Bulls fighting. So probably not going to make Horner too happy what happened right there. And you can see that Verstappen did end up losing a bunch of time as well. But what I'm thinking here now is that we're going to take it easy for one more lap, get energy back for both cars, and then we're going to go ahead and start pushing away from the Red Bulls, creating a little bit of a gap, and say if we have a weird safety car, because so far there's been none. So once we started pushing here, the job was basically done immediately here, and you can kind of see it already that Hulkenberg overtook, Magnussen overtook, and Hulkenberg is basically getting the overtake done into the castle section. And already he's almost gotten that full second just a few corners later. So this attack did really pan out well for us. I'm pretty sure we're going to start fastest lap here. I would hope so. And we do have, again, fuel. We have everything. We're going to go ahead and push for one more lap here. See if we can improve on that. A 42.4. So, yeah. It looks incredibly good at this point. It should be a very, very simple 1-2. And we already have gaps here that are big enough that in the event that we do get a safety car, it shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, I don't think Magnus is going to improve here. He had a purple sector 1. He's close. Honestly, he's actually very close, but did not improve. But yeah, let's just speed along here. Let's see how we look once we come to, well, a little bit closer to the end. We're getting increasingly closer to the end. Last lap is about to start very, very soon. And we've actually created enough of a gap here that if we really wanted to, we could pit Magnussen and still come ahead of the Red Bull. So yeah, that is an incredibly great gap created incredibly quick. So we can be happy with how this race has gone. But generally, I still feel the player has probably a little bit too big of an advantage on low deck tracks. AI seems to have a bit of a bigger advantage on high deck tracks. But at the same time here, we do also have a car that has a tremendous advantage on low speed cornering circuits, which this one definitely is. So it is the expected result for sure. But yeah, we two stopped. No one else did, which I'm actually surprised with. I have been praising the hard AI for being kind of flexible and doing things like the player. But surprised that I haven't actually done a two-stop strategy because it is the quickest one available to you. Just no discussion. Drivers here then, we have Magnussen jumping ahead Perez, Hulkenberg gaining a little bit, and into constructors, we're now a little bit closer, although we had a good weekend. We only gained 19 points, so that's not too great, but at the same time, it's okay. I think we can improve on that later on. Financially, we're paying out bonuses for the finish positions, which I'm perfectly fine with. And we're also going to go ahead right now and have a look at that front wing. But also the pit crew here. I want to just do that immediately before I forget. So pit crew development here, we did kind of set them aside. And they are just high at 30% this month. So that is at least good. And what I'm thinking we do here is that we put in a couple of basic session pit stop drills. And that should be okay. We're a little bit high there with 12%, but I think this is fine. Put in one extra session of pit stop drills. In terms of the front wing design here, it has 86% airflow front. That's actually insane. Same kind of with the brake cooling. I want to see how this one affects the car. So this is actually really good for medium, a little bit good for low. We're going to lose additional brake cooling making this one, but I think that is again just a sacrifice that we have to be willing to make. And it's not going to be done for the next race. We could rush one to get it done, but we'll just do normal here because we're already in a financially compromised situation in terms of the cost cap because we know we're going to have to buy another engine. So yeah, I think that is fine. Projection for the sidepods is already in order. And let's see here. 7 days until our next CFD period. It's just where do we put that? I kind of tempted to do another underfloor, in my honest opinion, and focus it towards top speed. I think at this point, working a little bit more on the suspension would be good. So what I want us to do is do this, where we focus on drag reduction as well. Would actually be amazing. You know, we're gonna do something a little bit silly. We're gonna do this. We're not gonna be making this design, but we are gonna be going all in this season. So we're gonna get a little bit more top speed into the suspension here. And as I said, we're gonna be investing that next CFD period into the underfloor again. I think might have a little bit of a look at kind of where our what is our best parts, because it is kind of hard to judge if we look in the warehouse here. We could do a chassis. Honestly, that too could be good. Rear wing, I think we're fine with the rear wing. So yeah, it's a little bit, as I said, difficult. We can go for different parts like the front wing here and have a look. Compare it to the rest of the grid. So we have the best front wing in terms of low speed cornering, which is kind of what we like, an airflow front. Take a look at the rear wing. Should be, it has a little bit to go on in drag reduction and also downforce. So this kind of tells us that we might want to focus on the rear wing just a little bit. The underfloor, it should be probably again the greatest. Maybe not focus on it, but I kind of want to do it for the top speed. But again, that's something you also can get from the rear wing. So bit of a rough one, honestly. And the side pod sit, not the best. Could have a little bit of work done to it. Suspension, it's good for low speed cornering, airflow, and brake cooling, which again is what I focus it on. But it's lacking top speed. So we'll use a little bit of thinking time here. We have 15 days until we get those side pods anyways. So we have time to kind of think and figure out what we want to do with the current car setup, if you will. Although, we just got a suggestion here for the design center improvement, which we are most likely going to deny because we don't have... I haven't actually gone ahead and refurbished the design center in a while. Probably could go ahead and just upgrade it to tier 3. But what we should be upgrading instead are the car part test center and the suspension sim. And honestly, we have the finances now to actually upgrade both. We're going to go ahead and refurbish this. It's going to take 30 days. And I'm actually tempted here now also to go ahead and accept this one. Because if we approve the budget, we'll be able to at least put in 2 more extra parts. Again, 50% for 45 days. We're going to be able to make 2 more extra parts, maybe even more, if we time it correctly. So, let's go ahead and approve budget. I don't know if they actually fixed this kind of bug. No, you still need to have it at full capacity to get those extra 2 projects. So, yeah, we're going to have to see how that refurbish goes. We have spent a lot of money now, to be fair. But again, the facilities that you should upgrade are your suspension sim, your car part test center, your wind tunnel, CFD don't really matter at all. Don't upgrade these. The main benefit from wind tunnel and CFD is actually the boost that you get from CFD and wind time is expertise, and the effects gain that you see here doesn't give you extra expertise or anything like that. It's just a boost on that particular part, meaning that the part that you are going to most likely replace immediately because you have gained more expertise and thus your next part is going to be better gets boosted by your wind tunnel and your CFD sim. But it doesn't give you extra expertise, if that makes sense. I might be phrasing it silly, but when you use CFD and wind time, the boost here will only affect the part that you're currently designing. So let's say that we design our first underfloor with CFD and wind tunnel time. The boost that you see here will apply to that part. It will not give you extra expertise. And since we're going to be making another part immediately after anyways, because it's going to be way better, it's actually useless. So again, don't upgrade these 2 ever. There's just no point. Personal opinion at least, but yeah. Okay. Side pods have been manufactured. Excuse me for that minor burp. But yeah, we're going to jump directly here into Miami. Hopefully we can keep the good run going. It's going to be my hope at least. Q2, Q3. Let's go ahead. Should be no problem reaching both of those. And looks like we're going to have nice weather, so let's just jump directly into it. Our run continues here with a 1-2 at Miami for qualifying. And we even have Alonso as a tiny bit of a buffer here to the 2 Red Bulls. So I think we can be very, very happy with how this has gone so far as well. Norris once again, top 10. Hamilton up into 7th here between the 2 Ferraris. So that should be good for them. But yeah, I'm looking forward to what we can do here for the race. Now, generally here, I've usually been birthed by the fact that I choose more aggressive strategies around this place than you probably should. Let's put it like that. So I think we might just stick with the medium strategy. Burning the tires immediately might not be the greatest idea ever, but it's also more fun. Let's be honest, it is more fun. So I'm thinking we might try and do something like this. Most drivers here will actually try and take care of their tires. And running light, it should be hot enough here that running light should be viable, is what I'm thinking. I'm just wondering what is the best thing to do here. Could it be starting on a hard tire? Probably not, but this, again, this gives us a lot of extra wiggle room here towards the end of the stint, so we can run more aggressively. And again, I just find it more interesting. That's the thing. I find it more fun, more interesting to do two-stop. As, again, around Miami, you probably shouldn't. But at the same time, the fact that we can use the soft tires in this way is good. It does kind of mirror real life, where even if you do use soft tires, you might want to take better care of them, just because they are inherently faster. So treating them good does help you in the long run. And that's kind of what we are trying to do here. So we're going to do this. It's, again, tiny bit boring probably, but it should be more than good enough to get things off to a flying start. We have Alonso, as I said, as potentially a bit of a buffer. So I want to try and create as big of a gap as I can to the cars behind as early as possible. We need 22, 23 seconds here for a pit stop, which is similar to Baku. So I think this is fine. We're going to gamble. I think it is going to be good enough. Again, probably going to have to run more aggressive towards the end. And if that first stint turns out to need to run standard for the softs, then we might really realize that I've shot myself in the leg. But with a 1-2 start here, with a dominating car, I am more than happy to take this gamble. Basically. So yeah. At least we had a decent start. We maintained 1-2. The Red Bull and Alonso is still fighting. Hopefully Alonso will come out on top, as that would benefit us more. But yeah, it looks like Perez there, during that long turn, didn't manage to come out ahead. Which again is not great for us, but a good start is a good start. Now the main risk by running aggressive two-stop strategies where others will run one-stop is red flags. Honestly, that's your biggest risk, or getting stuck in traffic. But again, I feel like this gamble should be good, and I think it will benefit us. There's also a few soft runners here that should be pitting around the time we do, or maybe slightly later. But even then, I think this should be just fine. We aren't getting the gap to Perez here that we would have liked currently. Well, as I say that, that gap shoots up rapidly. But yeah, if we can extend this gap to basically a second, like now, that's going to be hugely beneficial. But right now, he's actually catching up a little bit, so we'll have to see. Alonso is holding up Verstappen at least. We might need to just go back to deploy it to make sure that we do stay ahead. Then try and push on the next lap instead. Perez looks like he didn't get DRS because he is falling backwards. But yeah, we might just try and, as I said, extend here on this one, because we do need to leave him behind. And energy consumption is going to be the kind of limiting factor for that, I believe. But we'll keep on pushing here. Hopefully he will slow down before too long. If he doesn't, we might be, as I said, in a tad bit of trouble. But we'll have to see here. Honestly, it's kind of fine if he runs a little bit with us, because Alonso is now being the kind of problem child, if you will. But we're going to go a little bit of harvesting here and then try and reinstate that gap to the Red Bull. Let's see if it works out. So it does look like we're struggling to get that gap reinstated. We did recharge, we have started pushing, and while we're getting there somewhat, it still isn't good enough, because once we start taking a little bit easier, Perez will start gaining on us again. So it's a little bit problematic, but at the same time, while I would love to get that gap a little bit higher up, I think we might be fine just now. Verstappen has also gotten Alonso, and even Ocon here has gotten himself involved. So it's not as dominating as it was Baku, but that we didn't expect that either, so it's honestly pretty much fine. Tire degradation is also within expected parameters, and it is actually a fairly hot day here and a hot track. So the light soft here might turn out to be a masterstroke. But for now, we're just going to allow things to kind of progress until we do get to that first pit stop of ours. So we might be in a tad bit of trouble here, because Perez not only has caught up to us, he overtook us, and the same thing is going to happen here with Verstappen. And now we even have Hülkenberg with a bit of an incident. He has a puncture and minor chassis, rear wing, and suspension damage. So that might be him just straight up out, because that's just rear wing damage is not great. And yeah, that is a hole in his wing. So what I'm thinking here is that we're just gonna... Well, it got red flagged anyways. Did he get bumped from behind, or what happened there exactly? I would love to see a replay.
Right, we're at turn 14 here.
Okay, so this is after he punctured, and then we have Ocon just running into the back of him.
Car plows into the wall. That will have knocked their confidence, I'm sure.
But we had rear wing damage to begin with. I want to know what happened before that. That's what caused the red flag. But I didn't get to know what happened with the first incident. I am genuinely bamboozled. That's the best way I can describe the current situation. I think what we do here is just start on the softs and go light immediately, because they will be up to temperature. But yeah, I'm genuinely confused about what happened to Hulk, because, as mentioned, he had damage to his chassis, his suspension, and his rear wing.
All drivers have taken positions again.
Unless he spun and hit a wall, that doesn't really make much sense. But he also had a puncture on his left side tire, I think it was.
And away we
We're gonna have to take a look at that later, but that is, as I said, quite a confusing scenario, no matter how you want to look at it. Now, we have a lot of hard runners here, which means they are going to be running till the end. The soft runners are not. I guess we're just going to have to see if Ocon ends up picking up a penalty from basically driving into the back of a car that didn't have any way to control itself. But yeah, that was... that's confusing. I guess I should call this the Miami conspiracy, maybe. But yeah, I don't know what happened to Hulkenberg, and that's the worst part, because he did have some damage, but we also put in a new gearbox, a new engine for this race. So if he's broken both of those, then financially we're already in a bit of trouble this year. But yeah, Magnussen here, running light softs, already gaining a kind of a huge amount of time on the rest of the field. So far it's looking good. 32.4, 9/10 there, half a second to, well, 1.5 seconds to Verstappen. So yeah, keep this up, and that one pit stop should not be a problem at all. The only thing we're really pushing here is fuel. But yeah, let's see if we can make this happen. Basically, the only thing we can be happy about here is that we didn't pit before the incident. But yeah, I'm probably going to have to watch that over a few times after this race. And we've had an incident here. I don't know if Ocon has been involved. It's Stroll, not Ocon, okay. Just so that Ocon fell back a place the second incident happened. Just a light touch between the two Astons. But yeah, this could evolve then into a bit of an interesting race just due to that. But as you can see, Magnussen is doing amazing here. 32.9s versus 33.6s, 33.7s. Norris actually faster there, but that's because DRS. So it's looking very, very good here. And if we can get out ahead of, say, even Sainz here potentially, once we do pit, that would be quite amazing. But I'm still kind of just baffled. It's the best way I can describe it of what happened to Hulkenberg. I'm honestly also genuinely concerned that we did get a ton of extra damage on his car. That's my main concern. So we'll have to see if we can make something with it. But yeah, for now, just going to keep on running as we have been running. Verstappen was actually faster that lap, so we might start pushing a little bit there on those hard tires. But again, at the moment, I think we can be very, very happy. Once we do pit to fresh tires, we're going to catch back this time easily. And we can probably start pushing a little bit around this time. Go up to aggressive for a lap or two, and then just go full attack. And that should allow us to not only reinstate the gap, but as I said, maybe catch Alonso out, maybe catch Sainz out, Hamilton, Ocon, Russell. The more cars we catch out here before we pit, the better. So let's see what we can do. We need to also keep in mind here that Ocon, Russell, Hamilton, well, maybe not Hamilton, Norris, Russell, Ocon are all going to need to pit before the end of the race too, which is going to clear up a lot of space once they actually do end up pitting. So us staying out longer than them isn't really a bad thing. So we're probably going to run this lap and then one more, and which means that we'll be pitting at the end of this one. And as you can see, we've almost gained enough time here that we would come out ahead of Verstappen and ahead of Perez. So this is already really, really good, and kind of a replay at what we did at Baku. So honestly, not bad. Not bad at all at this stage. Let's just speed along here, and we need to remember to put him down to light before we enter the pits. So we want to just sell back in. So Magnussen actually comes out in front. Not far enough in front here that he's going to be able to get outside of DRS, but far enough in front that he's going to be a bit of a nuisance. And with fresh soft tires here, even if we run them on light, we should be able to create the gap here that we kind of need to just stay ahead. So it's looking very, very promising indeed. And if we do take good care of these tires, we might even be able to snatch fastest lap. You can kind of see here that we are slowly but surely extending the gap here. Verstappen is now outside of DRS, and we are running with just light consumption on the tire degradation. So yeah, looks incredibly promising. Let's see if we can keep this up until the end of the race. We've gotten a fairly significant gap into Verstappen by 14 seconds already. So what I'm thinking that we're going to do here is actually push, deploy everything, and go for fastest lap here. Just set it early. We have actually been getting a couple of fastest laps here that we've been exchanging with other drivers, even while running light. So Magnussen here should have no problem getting the fastest lap. And you can kind of see it, purple sector 1. I can almost guarantee it's going to be a purple sector 2. And you can guess it, it's going to be a purple sector 3. I just can't see any other result here. And it is a 28.9. The other fastest laps were around the 1:30 mark. So this should be good enough that we don't need to worry about anything for the rest of the race. And even then, we can actually pit again. If we really want to, we can pit again and get another set of tires on. So it's gone incredibly well. Hamilton should pit. He's not going to last till the end. Yeah, it went better than I anticipated. Again, I have no clue what happened to Hulkenberg. I do understand that our second crash was he had a puncture, and it was a bad corner for Ocon to kind of get stuck in at. But even then, it doesn't really explain why what happened. So we'll just have to take a look at the car afterwards and see just how many parts we actually ended up losing. Because again, remember, our factory is absolute trash. So any parts that we lose, it's going to hurt us immensely. Yeah, we're still extending the gap here. And as I said, Magnussen should win, gaining over a second lap. Let's speed along till the end and see where we end up. I believe Hamilton has had his puncture while I wasn't paying attention. Oh, he did pit onto, yeah, soft tires, say down to 13. So what could have been a good race kind of ruined, which is unfortunate. And yeah, the hard runners here, I think everyone else here should be fine to run to the end, with the exception of maybe Show. But even then, he should be okay. I'm just scared, a little bit scared though, because we did overtake him as he probably was getting a little bit closer to puncturing his tires. But yeah, final lap, half a minute, basically ahead of the Red Bull Verstappen. I think we can say that is a job well done. But again, the negatives here, a Haas out of the race, which so far, with the, well, just 5 races into the season, 2 DNFs, that's not a good thing. But yeah, we're going to go ahead now and have a look at just how much damage we suffered from that incident. And I would assume that it maybe was a spin or something, because there was no investigations, no punishments. But it could also just be that the red flag messed those up, so it's kind of hard to judge, really. Unfortunately, that means Red Bulls pull ahead again, because of course they do. We only had one driver finish the race. Even then, we are still a little bit off Verstappen. But yeah, there's nothing we can do with that. Financially, we only pay out 1 bonus, but again, we're probably going to have to buy more components, which is going to get expensive. And we want to have a look here at the car inspection results. So, chassis, front wing, rear wing, and suspension destroyed. So, that does tell us that the front wing did take damage from Ocon's hit. So, he probably sent him into the wall. Now, on the positive note, the engine didn't take lots of damage. The ERS was the old one, so the only thing that really did get absolutely destroyed here was the second gearbox. And honestly, I'll take a gearbox over an engine any day of the week. That is fine. We did, of course, also... The bigger issue is actually going to have to be replacing these parts, because it's not really expensive. I wouldn't call it expensive. I would call it time consuming and potentially expensive depending on the number of incidents. But at the same time, it is something that should be fine. And we'll be putting the new parts on Hulkenberg's car just to make him slightly more competitive. But yeah, it's been again, a very, very weird race. It's the best way I can describe that situation. There's really no other way to describe what happened to him. I'm going to just take a very, very short break here. And I'm going to go ahead and have a look at the video and see if I see anything out of bounds before that. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. So I had a quick review of what happened to Hulkenberg, and from what I could see, he was alone on track when it happened, but it seemed like he came around the corner, had a tiny lockup, probably hit the left wall, and that kind of caused the damage. So probably nothing that was, involved with anyone else. He just had a bit of an unfortunate moment, and then it became even more unfortunate after getting hit. So it happens. There's just nothing we can do with it, honestly. And, well, it does suck, of course. Again, that is racing. Sometimes things will go extremely well, and you'll be laughing all the way to, well, the bank, the trophy cabinet, whichever you prefer. And other times you'll just be sad. That is, again, just racing in a nutshell. Now, for the time being, I do believe that we want to still use this chassis. So we're going to go ahead and get one more of these made. And also currently, let's see here. Let's go ahead and get that one rear wing made as well. But although I did say that I'm also a little bit unsure what we wanted to invest into, it's going to be 8 days before we have to design with those new side pods. So it's still okay. Yeah, we should have also the changing of the month. Car development report. Top speed. We have been demoted. We've also been demoted in cornering department, but that's because we put the better cornering part on our car 2. Because again, it does take car 1. So we haven't actually gotten demoted that badly. What is high confidence? Driver update. Cornering ability goes up for both of the boys. Very good. Share developing nicely as well. And we'll take a look at the pit crew here. So again, we are going to do this manually because I just feel like that does give us the best options. I'm going to do a little bit here to get that error chance down. But we do also need to put in a little bit of work here to get the times down a little bit. And we're also going to do a little bit of car building just to maintain our current level, which isn't at a great level, don't get me wrong, but we'd still like to maintain, if possible, kind of the position that we're in. So we maybe have put in a little bit too much work here, honestly. Let's get rid of one of these gym trainings like so. And that should put us in a little bit of a better situation before Emilia Romagna. And of course Monaco and everything else here, but we'll just do this to begin with. We still have to put in a little bit more work here. No more on car building, but the pit stop times and the chance of mistakes needs to get a little bit more help before the end of the month. So we'll check again after the next race. It's just the best way to do it. That way you can make sure that you don't end up overworking your pit crew. We're also going to end up doing Emilia Romagna here today because things have been going fairly smoothly, with the exception of that last incident. So we'll do one more race. Again, how smoothly the races go kind of do decide how many I do. I'm not going to lie. We did focus engine cooling on this one to kind of compensate. So we're going to do... I'm wondering what we want to do here then with the design project, because doing the side pods for CFD and wind tunnel is probably not the most terrible idea I've ever had, but it is less stats. That's kind of the thing here. So if we do this, it still wouldn't be great, but that's mainly because of the weight, not anything else. We'd get that engine cooling back, we'd get a little bit of top speed, and then we'd have to make another one too, for that matter. Or we go ahead and invest in the underfloor. Again, but the underfloor is already fairly heavily invested into, so it's kind of that, do I want to invest into mainly just the top speed of the underfloor? That's kind of where the question is going to lie with this idea. Because as you can see here, most likely what's going to happen here on the next iteration is that we can get probably 0.2 kph more, so 0.8 total. And this is going to, for the most part, cancel out, is what I'm hoping for. But we're already fairly high here, even with this, because again, this goes from 3 to 5, this goes from 5 to 7. So this translates into 80% downforce. which again is a little bit concerning. So we're already very, very high on the percentage points. But at the same time, it's top speed that we're kind of looking for, not really anything else. We can get that from sideboards, we can get that from chassis as well. But I think we'd do another on the underfloor here, just finish it off completely. And we could also do a little bit of an investment into the medium speed cornering ability, which is something that we usually do end up lacking, because there's not really a good source of it. There's plenty of good sources for low speed and high speed, but nothing for purely medium speed, so I think we'll do this. And again, since we are doing it with basically try and get it done as quickly as possible, we're just going to rush it. And I think, as I said, it might not be the best investment I've ever done, but it's one that I can be confident in probably helping the car out. So yeah, we're going to try and basically not lose any cornering ability that we have right now, but we're going to try and get as much top speed from the underfloor as possible. And as I said, I do think that is fine. And then once we get one of the other slots open here, maybe the rear wing, for instance, we can go ahead and work some more on the side pod, work some more on the chassis, because I think they both do need that. Try and extract as much top speed from those pieces as we can, along with the rear wing. It's going to be the way to go forwards, because we're kind of reaching the peak now for cornering ability. There isn't really much to be gained in cornering speed, but there's plenty to be gained in top speed, if that makes sense. I do know that I'm going a little bit in circles here with the way that I kind of speak and explain things, but I am trying to do it in the best way possible. It's been... I feel like my English has deteriorated over the last few months, which is a terrible thing to say. But at the same time, I feel like I am getting worse and worse at explaining concepts in F1 Manager, so if it is still understandable, please tell me so I don't have to worry too much about the way that I word my sentences. But yeah, let's jump into Emilia Romagna. We're going to have a little bit of rain for practice and qualifying, and then a cloudy race on Sunday. Let's see how that goes. A decent enough quali leads us to a first and third start here, which honestly is fine. Very closer to Verstappen, just a few hundreds, so didn't roll our way this time, but again, very close, can't complain. Now, the race itself is going to be cloudy, and most likely what's going to happen is that most cars are going to do a one-stopper. It is probably going to be the best thing available to us, in my honest opinion. What we could do, however, is again experiment with running things on light. And putting a hard stint in the middle here could be beneficial, but as you can see here, we don't really have a lot of soft tires available to us. And that is going to kind of limit the fun that we can have. And degradation around this place, fairly high to begin with, so it does mean that it's not really that beneficial to do anything like that, because it turns a one-stopper into a potential, well, two-stopper, and we don't really save a lot of time. What we could do is experiment by running a full attack hard stint to begin with, a full attack medium stint, and then finishing it off with a light soft stint. That could work. As you can see, it's about 6 seconds quicker, 5 to 6 seconds quicker than the initial one stop, which honestly is enough for me to say that we're going to go for it, because we are starting very much at the front of the pack, and that should allow us to get away kind of neatly, and that is going to be the entire idea behind this strategy. Now, in theory too, the other cars should have to save a little bit of tire, because as you saw here, there isn't really a much tire to go on if you choose one of these basic strategies. So we're going to try this. I think it's viable, and hopefully we're not going to be losing too much time on pit stops or get screwed over by red flags or incidents again. But yeah, I think this is good enough of a gamble, and I think we're going to go ahead and install the new ERS for Hulk. I think we might as well just go ahead and do that. He's probably going to need a new ERS from that crash too. But to be fair, so does Magnussen after his crash. So already we've lost probably around, let's say, ERS, engine. We're going to need those anyways. Well, the ERSs, but 2 ERSs and an engine, that's 10 million. Gearbox, 11 million. So minimum 11 million so far on crashing. And we've just started the season. So this is going to be interesting. But yeah, let's jump into the race, see how we do.
Here in Imola. This is it, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix.
Hard runner, hard runners represent. We're not the only ones. We're probably the only ones that are going to run full attack on them, though.
Away we go.
But we are not the only hard runners here. Now, Verstappen has opted for mediums, which could be a little bit problematic, but I think we'll be fine. Hulkenberg has also been able to keep his position in third. And Perez has actually been overtaken by Alonso. So far, it's looking very, very promising. Perez is the other hard runner alongside Albon, Hamilton, Stroll. Tsunoda, the only gambler on a soft tire. So this could turn out very, very interesting for those reasons alone. But yeah. Looks like we are creating a gap to Alonso already, just albeit a little one. But I think this is going to work out just fine for us. So we'll try and create a gap to Verstappen. I see the boogie is still happening with the stance over here. But for now, as I said, create a gap to Verstappen, keep on pushing, and see if we can get away from him. So we're getting very closer to that first pit window. We have been able to get rid of Verstappen. We have been able to create some gaps here. But we've also gotten into a bit of a concerning situation with the fact that we have the longest DRS in here, Albon to Tsunoda, Stroll. That could create problems with overtaking after we do pit, because the pit stops here do take a little bit of time at 24 seconds. So we're most likely going to come out behind these guys, unless we're really, really lucky. For Magnussen, he can, of course, just push everything he has, including energy, to try and create a gap. But Hulkenberg doesn't have that luxury. He's going to need to pit this lap. So what I'm thinking is that we're going to switch around Hulkenberg in particular to just do the soft stint first, because that's going to allow him to kind of take it a little bit easier. But I do see that we have an extra set of hards here, probably because of the rain. So for once, we could also change up our strategy a little bit. So let's see here. What happens if we run another hard immediately, and then we put on a soft tire? Is that going to be better? 2054. It is going to be better. So we might just go hard, and then soft. That might actually be more beneficial here. So for Hulkenberg, it's still not going to be great because, as I said, he's going to end up in traffic, most likely. And the same here can be said for Magnussen. So whichever strategy we do pick, we're probably going to end up in a non-optimal situation. So we're going to have to see here, as I said, pitting Hulkenberg on this lap. Honestly, we're going to gamble on stretching it once more. One more lap. And that too could be a little bit of a risk, honestly. I think we can stretch it for one more lap, although he did lose a bunch of time here somehow. What exactly happened with Hulkenberg now again? Is he just cursed lately? But yeah, let's just get him in. And we're going to get in Magnussen on the following lap. But he's most likely going to end up in, as I said, a little bit of no man's land. And Magnussen doesn't actually have the benefits that Hulkenberg does. So we're going to have to put him on a medium tire. But yeah, let's see here exactly where Hulk comes out. He also has a pit stop error. Small one. That definitely puts him further back in the order. And there's no one here that's going to be pitting very, very soon. So we're going to have a little bit of a hard job ahead of us here to get by the cars in front. Now Magnussen, let's see how he does. He comes out ahead of the Rabble, I believe, just barely. Yeah, just about. So he's kind of safe. He actually had a really, really good stop. Hulkenberg, as I said, is going to have a little bit more of a harder job here. But even then, we'll try and move him forward. Magnussen should have no problem getting back up to the front. Gasly and Alonso should be easily cleared as well. So no real concerns there. Fuel is a little bit of a concern, but we can get that back later. So far, things have been going well. Hulkenberg has actually just cleared the entire gang. A lot of them have pitted, mind you. As you can see, everyone behind Gasly at this point has pitted. So that has certainly helped. But in Magnussen's case, he's basically caught up to both Red Bulls before they pitted. So towards the end of this race, I'm pretty sure that we're going to have quite the advantage in terms of tires, which is kind of why we elected to use this strategy. Now, Hulkenberg is going to also be a little bit slower than Magnussen just because of the virtue that he's using a hard tire. But he should be coming back at him later on because he'll be able to run this off a little bit more aggressively. So far, as I said, we can be very happy. We could potentially be seeing Verstappen get a little bit held up here by Hamilton and Albon. But honestly, I think it's maybe a little bit too much to hope for. But right now, it's again looking very, very promising for us. And that second stop should kind of seal the deal with Magnussen already getting very closer to the gaps needed to safely pit. So it's looking very, very good. Here we are. We're going to be pitting Magnussen. He has just about enough time to Verstappen. So this could get very, very close. But of course, coming out on soft tires versus Verstappen slightly used hards, he's still going to have a bit of an advantage. So I'm pretty comfortable with how this has gone. Let's tune him down to light, and we'll have to see again when we come out if we want to tune him down even further to say save fuel, save other things. And I'm a little bit surprised it actually changed views like that. So Verstappen is probably going to be held behind, yeah, just barely. But Verstappen does have heated tires, so, or heat into his tires, he's going to get the overtake done, I would think. And honestly, I'm kind of fine with Magnussen just sitting behind Verstappen here for a little while, recharging his energy, getting heat into the tires, and also getting that fuel back onto the positive side, while enjoying the benefits of DRS. So I'm gambling on this working, we'll have to see. Also, if the temperature here does not go up to the levels that we kind of need, we might be in trouble, but I think we'll be fine. It is the hope that I have, at least. Valkenburg, he too is looking good. He's going to be coming out behind Perez, but he's going to have even more tire available to him than Magnussen currently does. So I still think this is going to be fine, but we might be cutting it slightly closer with the strategic choice. So we'll have to see. We are going to be pushing these tires a little bit further, just so we have a little bit more, well, soft tire to go on. Looks good so far, though. Here we go. Hulk is in the pits, and as I said, it should come out behind Perez, which is expected. But since he's out ahead of Gasly, it should be fine. And I think the goal that we're going to be setting ourselves here today is probably not a 1-2, but beating both of the Red Bulls if possible. So we'll take it a little bit easier here. Get fuel back on the positive side, catch up to Perez. Magnussen is doing very well at the moment, although he's kind of being held back. I think once we get a little bit more fuel on the correct side, once we get these back markers out of the way, we're going to go ahead and try to get a little bit of a gap created and maybe pull away. And I think doing it right now could work. We'll just have to see if we have enough to get by, and we just do not at the moment. So it's still a little bit up for grabs. We are running about the 7/10 quicker for Hulkenberg, so you should have no problem catching Perez by the end. Magnussen did get the overtake done, but used an awful lot of energy to pull that off, which could be bad. So we'll have to see if we can actually get the gap up and running here. At the moment, it does not look very viable, as Verstappen is keeping up. So we'll have to see exactly how we end up playing it out if we do run with Verstappen, if we keep on kind of recharge, trying to get by. I think that's what we do. We just recharge, we try again, and sooner or later, we're going to be able to create the gap that we need. I think that's going to be the play. So let's see if we can pull that off. So I think what we're going to do here now with Magnussen, Hulkenberg is also caught up to Perez, but what I'm thinking of doing with Magnussen is to try and get away from Verstappen by going for fastest laps. So we're going to push, we're going to deploy, we're going to do everything that we can here to try and get that done. Unfortunately, I don't think we were close enough to Piastri to get a DRS up and running, which is not the greatest. But we were close enough to get, well, the gap instated here, and as I said here, this should be fastest lap. Green sector 1, purple sector 2, and I would assume, as I said there, fastest lap with some decent margin. So we're going to go back down to line to take it a little bit easier. For Hulk here, we're going to have to try and get him by this lap, basically. I just don't think we're going to be catching Verstappen, but we can probably go for aggressive for the last few laps here, and getting away from Perez and then trying to hunt down Verstappen is going to be a bit of a challenge. But you can kind of see just how quick Magnussen was when we pushed everything that we did have. And Hulkenberg kind of is in that similar vein. Gained about 1.5 seconds on that lap alone. So if we probably should have gotten past Perez a little bit sooner to make this even more viable. But at the moment, I do believe that we have what is necessary in the tank to catch Verstappen before the end of this. We'll have to see though. Last lap again, another 1.5 seconds taken out. And if we do tune up the car a little bit, we'll probably have an even better time of doing so. It's just, I do think the tires can survive, so let's go aggressive. Let's see if we can hunt down Verstappen. for the end of this race. And once again, gaining 1.7 seconds there, so it definitely does look viable. Now Magnussen has just ran away, kind of ran away with it, which is nice to see. And once again, gained over a second. Fuel is a bit of a concern though, we did push that a little bit far. But tire life is not a concern here. 20%, 4 laps to go, that should be okay. Turn it back to balanced, and within the next lap here, I think we're going to get within DRS. So we could at that point, if we feel the need, save tires, but I don't think we're going to have to. I think what we're going to want to do is turn them down to standard, just for a lap or two. Well, we have 3 laps remaining, so probably just for a lap. And try and get back some of that energy to make an overtake a little bit easier. But yeah, Norris here could play actually MVP to Verstappen if we're a bit unfortunate, because Verstappen should be getting DRS here too from Norris. So let's just hope he doesn't block us. Kind of did, honestly. But with basically now 1.5 laps to go, we're just going to go full attack. And I think Norris actually held us up there again, so that's not great. That is not up to... Oh, that's not what I want to do. I want to go to 2 times. But yeah, it looks like Norris did kind of enough there for Verstappen to kind of help him out, which again is just so annoying. If Verstappen get DRS from Norris, we would have had him for sure. Of course, again, probably a little bit of a mistake from my side. Not going to deny that. But if Norris wasn't in the picture, we would have had a lot easier time to get it done.
Man, I can't believe this.
And that was pretty close though. So yeah, bit of a misplay by me. But we beat both Red Bulls, so we can still be somewhat happy. Okay, Magnus with the win and fastest lap. Hulkenberg here in 3rd. Probably should have gone with Verstappen, as I said, but it's my own fault. That's 3 points in the bin. But Gasly here with 5th and Ocon in 7th. We have Alonso, then the Ferraris and Albon. So looks like we're going to have a fairly interesting kind of, well, at least total point tally. 69 points for Hulkenberg, 126 and a singular point ahead of Verstappen for Magnussen. And with that, we gain 11 points back on Red Bull. So it might be a bit of a closer fight this year than I anticipated. And of course, if Hulkenberg didn't have that pistol barrier too, would have helped him out a little bit. But it is what it is. We can't really, you know, do anything about it. For now, though, we are gonna kind of allow this episode to end, and we'll be continuing next time. But I had fun. It's good to be back again. I do say that a lot lately, but basically we're gonna try and run long form F1 every other day alongside all of the Powerwall content, because I am enjoying it a little bit too much at the moment. And I do apologize to everyone that is here mainly for the F1 content, but I do enjoy Palworld, and I do enjoy making content on that, because as I said, the content that I kind of enjoy making the most is probably guides. So yeah, it is what it is. Again, thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time, hopefully. Thank you again. Bye bye.